Hello and welcome to the Energy Connect studio at India Energy Week 2025. I'm delighted to have sitting next to me in the studio today Vivek Dua, partner, and Gaurav Gulati, senior principal, both at Kearney. Thank you so much for coming down to the Energy Connect studio. And to start off, what are your thoughts on the clean energy transition in India and its journey to a low carbon future?
So thank you for having us, Chiranjeev. Very glad to be here. It's a fantastic event, a great venue. I think every year Indian Energy Week is taking a step in the right direction. You know that energy transition is not just an Indian theme, but a global one as well. And it is driven by the fact that the climate events are becoming more extreme. We have catastrophic floods, we have the wildfires, we have the heat is, the temperatures are at the highest ever recorded levels. This requires a global concerted effort towards climate action, accelerated reduction in our carbon emissions, and adaptation strategies which align with the need for the economic growth as well. So that is well understood. We have taken that energy transition goal in the right manner. We took the Panchamrit pledge as part of COP26, which drives us towards our net zero goal by 2070. We're going to need renewable energy to come up in a big way. It is part of our Panchamrit goals, 500 gigawatts to come from RE, reduction of carbon dioxide by 50%. All of that is something that we've taken a note of. And against that, our progress is in the right direction. We've grown our RE capacity by 3.5x in the last 5-7 years itself. So we're making rapid strides. Having said that, I think it is still work in progress. Something that we need to be focused on quite a bit. And a lot has been done, but a lot more needs to be done.
And that's a very fair point about work in progress. And Gaurav, would you like to add anything to that?
Yes, no, thanks, Chiranjeev, thanks, Vivek. I think what we have seen is a concerted effort being put into the energy transition, into achieving some of the ambitious goals that we have set for ourselves. For example, last year we did, in DC terms, about 30 gigawatt of solar capacity. This was third highest in the world. And if we look at, the future goals or the future ambitions, there is still a lot to be done, which will require us to accelerate our journey towards the net zero goals, towards the Panchamrit pledge that we have taken.
I think that brings me to the next question, that there's been a lot of progress, but like you said, that there are challenges. And could you talk to us about what some of these challenges, especially those faced by the NOCs?
So I think entire energy ecosystem in India is underpinned by the national oil companies, right? So they have had a very substantive role to play in our energy story. And as India faced the trilemma of energy security, energy justice, energy affordability, the role that the NOCs need to play cannot be overemphasized. So they have that role to play, but they also have to help us overcome that trilemma. And as they look to do that, there are going to be intrinsic challenges. It's a story where they will need to focus on the conventional, but also on the renewable. They will have to build capacities and capabilities on their core, but also acquire these new tech that will be needed. And they will need access to financing, which so far they were not focused on at all. So as they look to overcome this trilemma, they will need to overcome the challenges that they have intrinsic to them. And something that, while they have the financial wherewithal to do that, will require difference in focus than what it has been in the past.
And if I could just add, and the NOCs, they have traditionally dominated the energy landscape in India. And if we look at what's happening now, there is of course a lot of conventional energy, conventional sources which are still very relevant for India. So the core still remains, and that's where they continue to make investments, they continue to add value. But there is also expanding that core to amalgamate or in some manner get in investments for the alternate energies, and that's going to be very important for them, because there is one side which remains equally relevant for them, but there is also the other side of it, and they need to muster enough talent, they need to muster enough resources, enough financing in order to get the act together and make a meaningful impact, so that they continue to remain as meaningful in India's energy ecosystem as they have been today.
No, thanks. If I can just add to that, Chiranjeev, and the scale of that is not lost, right? For example, when they look at making the investments that we're talking about to achieve the Panchamrit pledge, they're going to require $100 billion to be put in over the next 6 to 7 years. That, by the way, is the same scale of investment that they will need to make in the conventional business as well. Now, the conventional business has come about at that capacity to be able to deploy $100 billion in the next 8-9 years over the last 5 decades. However, the new energy business hasn't had that length of time. So for them to deploy that capital effectively and to achieve the outcomes is not going to be a trivial task. Having said that, the outcomes and the value or the opportunity is going to be tremendous as well. So there is every reason to attempt that.
I think those are excellent points because, like you said, while there are tremendous opportunities, I think the enormity of the scale is also, I think, just sort of dawning on the whole sector.
Yes.
And to move forward, I think there will be a lot of focus on resource optimization as well as fostering innovation. And how can platforms help with that? And what role do you see, especially like NOCs, playing in that regard?
So I think the reason we wrote the article on platformization was because we said that whatever has been done in the past will not be enough to carry forward in the future. Platforms have a very unique capability. They allow the NOCs to bring in private sector developers in the conventional space, technological players, which their conventional businesses may not have access to, financing of the new kind that the conventional businesses would not have access to. What they bring in as the oil companies is the demand. So once you have the captive demand enabled by technological players, financial players, and the private developers, that creates a very unique value proposition. That one that can overcome the challenges that we spoke about in the past. So that's what we think is going to be needed, and we strongly believe can accelerate the pace that is needed for us to achieve the outcomes that we're targeting.
And essentially, platforms can enable the ecosystem play that is needed in order to make a lot of these new age energies more viable. So for example, CCUS, it's not a standalone play that a single or even two players can come together and make it viable. It has to be an ecosystem play where you have players which are going to say transport. There are players who will be utilizing or enabling the entire capture of it. So it has to be, and then coupled with that, you need technology, you need advancement in that, you need people who are willing to invest in R&D, and there is that funding envelope or the entire financing story that has to come together. So that ecosystem can be very effectively catalyzed by formation of the platforms, which can enhance the viability of new age technologies like CCUS, even 2G or 3G bioethanol. And that's something which platformization can very uniquely bring together.
And it is going to be a requirement for us to deliver to the scale that we are targeting. For example, all the NOCs put together have said they're going to put up 50 gigawatts of RE capacity. What's on the ground? Less than 1 gigawatt. They've said they're going to come up with 5 to 10 MTP of hydrogen. What's on the ground? Nothing right now. CCUS, we need to target substantive volumes. What's on the ground? Our pilot scale. So when we look at that challenge and we look at the current operating model, we look at what is out there, what we can learn from. Platforms emerge as one of the interesting opportunities for the companies to espouse and take up. And not just the NOCs, I think the MOPNG, the regulators, the MOF, all will have a significant role to play for bringing together this platform.
That's and just digging into that and also circling back to your earlier comments, to build this ecosystem, you need a proper financing mechanism. So how do you see platforms helping attract this investment and also boosting the investor sentiment as such?
So I think the most significant challenge of the new tech or the new areas that they need to scale in is the bankability of the plans. Now, what the NOCs bring to this platform is the demand. Now, as soon as you bring the demand like that and the scale of that kind of demand, the bankability of this project suddenly creates the viability that, for example, the green hydrogen we find is not viable at the current price point. But now if I have captive demand and a platform and that demand can underwrite the business case for a new project, there you have it. You have the first plant of scale, and that will allow you to get economies of scale built from there. And that we think is a tremendous value for creating, and it's going to be attractive for a lot of investors if there is a captive demand. But Gaurav, do add.
if we look at the total clean tech investments in India, they have crossed 30-40 billion dollars. So that is huge. But when we look at where this has been channelized, nearly 70-80% of this has gone into e-mobility or renewables, which are more commercial at the moment. While all the other clean tech has attracted very minuscule quantum of the entire funding available. I think with platformization, we also solve for that challenge where you are able to attract investments not just into the more commercial alternate energies, but also some of the new age ones, which require that initial risk taking, the risk funding, as well as investments into R&D. So I think this can also very effectively catalyze that entire risk funding or the R&D funding.
And to that point, the value or the valuation that this can generate for the companies is just phenomenal, right? The five major national oil companies today are at $133 billion of valuation. They will deploy $100 billion towards alternate energy if they were to meet the announced goals. Now, the value potential of that 100 billion, by the way, could be $500 billion of valuation. So you're talking about a 4x scale up in the valuation through a better and more effective deployment of this capital. And that's what the platformization enables.
And finally, we are here at India Energy Week, and Kearney has been a big part of the journey. So what are your thoughts and how do you see the show evolving?
No, I think it is fantastic to see this grow from strength to strength. DMG had a great role to play. MOPNG is the chief patron of this, and I think everybody in the ecosystem has done a phenomenal job to bring it to this stage. The minister was announcing in the morning that this is the second or third best event or the largest event in the energy ecosystem in the world. So, within 3 years, achieving that is fantastic.
Gaurav, your thoughts?
I think it's really inspiring to be part of and to be attending an event of this magnitude and scale. Getting to connect with delegates across the world, regulators, private sector players, PSUs, organizers like DMG. So I think overall very inspiring and very, very well presented overall.
Absolutely, we have representation from more than 120 countries, and of course more than 700 exhibiting companies. So thank you very much, Gaurav and Vivek, for your time today, and it's such a pleasure to have you in the studio.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for watching, and you can always get more comprehensive coverage of the energy industry at energyconnects.com. I'll be back with more studio interviews from India Energy Week. Until then, goodbye.